very often I don't even remember when I heard something first, because I grew up in a family of a conductor, and music was in our house all the time. Literally 24 hours, I can tell you, we had always music playing in our house, and for years and years and years. So I cannot really tell you first time I heard Mozart Mass, because I think that it might even be that it was one of my father's performances. I sang in a choir, a boy choir, and very often in Estonia, the boy choir and the mixed chorus sang together in Mozart masses, for example, Mozart Requiem, Ave Verum Corpus, Litania Lauretania, all the choral works, because the boys, there was a lot of boy sopranos, it adds a special color. So I remember actually singing, not necessarily the Mass, but other choral works with my father conducting, so as a member of the boy choir. And in general, I must say that he was a conductor who spent a lot of time in the opera house, and I heard a lot of Mozart operas as I was 6, 5, 3 years old even. I literally, we used to go to the rehearsals and concerts and opera when I was 3, 4 years old, and I cannot really tell when I heard it first, but I know that it has become one of those pieces that just speaks to me. It's an amazing piece of music, and you know, of course, the Requiem, and especially after the movie Amadeus, and everybody knew about the Requiem. Mass has certain moments that are of similar, if not greater, depth and beauty, and being a record collector also, and my father was a record collector as well. He's still. I grew up also listening to different versions, and I remember spending a lot of time thinking about, you know, listening to Karajan's performance or listen to Ferenc Frischai's performance, and the whole, how this piece has changed now that we are looking at the classical repertoire quite differently than a kind of a romantic, heavy, quite traditional view, and how to make it work so that it has the same effect and the same depth, but have also a stylistic understanding that we now have, and which people in a time of Furtwängler might have not known about. So it creates interesting and sometimes quite difficult dilemmas, but I'm sure that we will find here, and I'm really looking forward to working with the chorus. The standard way to present a Mozart Mass is to do with a classical symphony or a classical piece that is from about the same period. I thought, why not really bring the first half into 20th century? In fact, one of the composers that I have always thought doesn't get enough attention is Benjamin Britten, because Benjamin Britten is one of those, it's a good example of a composer that when you listen to it for the first time, you thought, interesting, it doesn't immediately speak to you. When you listen to it second time, you start thinking, this is really wonderful. It's always, there's meaning, there is sometimes the very simple dissonance put in the right place, in the right context, can be incredibly effective. And in his case, it is that particular piece, Sinfonia de Requiem, has a couple of sort of interesting aspects. It's really a pacifist manifestation. And then it's dedicated to parents. Now, this is very different nuance, which is interesting to see, because we always feel that the composer writes with a very strong idea, and he has to have a beginning, a reason why he writes this piece. as we often see, it's not the case. Composers write music. Hiroshima and parents are very two different things, and yet you can see it this way, and you can see it that way. And to me, basically, I like that idea that music's music. Arvo Pärt is for Estonians, for us, a sort of a national hero, a one truly international composer that comes from the country of 1 million people. 1 million people, it's a smaller country than most of the big cities in the world. Yet we have a lot of great music happening. Most proud we are of our composers. And we have a lot of them. We have Eduard Tubin, Arvo Pärt, Leppo Sumera, Tormis, Erkki Sven Tüür, many others. So I thought, perhaps slightly opportunistically, that it would be a very good way to tie Benjamin Britten to Estonian music, because the piece is called Cantus in Memory of Benjamin Britten. And the history, there is nothing to do with Britten in that piece, and nothing to really to do with trying to somehow emulate the Britten's style, or it is just an homage, a respect. Because Britten, I think, for a lot of composers, has been a kind of a school teacher, the father figure, an example of really original language. You know, if you look at Shostakovich, for example, Shostakovich, like Mahler, has used all the cliches that, or all the language tools that has come before him, and created his own mix, so to speak, and very powerful mix. Prokofiev, Britten, a few others. Obviously, in France, the most obvious is Messiaen. They have used and created their own language.